You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends. And here's Russ.
ECs and Starleigh. How's everybody doing in the land of COVID?
Great.
We're doing fantastic over here.
Yeah, ECs is our new team leader, rocking and rolling, recruiting like a crazy woman.
Yes.
You know why? Because we like to help people.
Indeed.
It's very strange that way, being integrity-based in the time of COVID where a lot of people aren't so integrity-based, or at least they're very judgmental, right? Have you guys noticed that?
Yes.
It's like I chew spearmint gum, you chew Hubba Bubba, and we hate each other. For God's sakes. I mean, really? It's getting to be that stupid. So here's the deal, people. If people are vaccinated, love them. If people are not vaccinated, love them, right? We need a little more Bob Marley in our life.
We love everybody.
All right. So here's the thing. We're talking about eviction, speaking of good topics. What happens when you own a house, or 2 or 3 or 10 as an investor, and you have renters in that, and they've agreed to pay you rent, and for whatever reason, hardship or maybe just out of convenience, they don't pay you. And you're sitting there going, uh-oh, now I'm getting behind. My credit is being destroyed. So what do you do? Well, that's a great question because it's not an easy answer. The idea that non-payment of rent was a good reason to evict people has been convoluted in the land of COVID because of hardship, right? And grace and empathy and forgiveness are all important components, but sometimes the reality is you're gonna suffer as a landlord. And so what we're trying to do today with Starleigh, who is an attorney in Florida, who's transitioning to being an attorney in Washington, right here with Jeffers, Danielson, Sonn, and Aylward. Fantastic law firm, by the way.
They are, yes.
Pat Aylward and Bob Starius have helped me out over the years a lot. We had a lot of fun together. Great people, just great people. And you guys have experts in just about everything, don't you?
We do, yes. It's pretty amazing, and they have been wonderful in my transition. I feel very grateful to be part of that firm.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
It's for a smaller community. I think to have a law firm like that, headquartered here and with integrity-based people like the partners are, it's cool. So Starleigh, you're getting. I say transitioning because there's some rules you have to get licensed in Washington. So you're technically not an attorney in Washington yet.
Correct.
But like in a couple of nanoseconds, that'll be covered. So what we're doing is we're trying to figure out or trying to navigate today on the show of what do you do? What can landlords do, or what is the law right now? Because I think between the federal law and the state law, between your neighbor down the street and the farmer down the road, and social media, there's only about 500,000 people telling you different things, right?
Correct.
That's a big number, by the way.
That is a big
whatever
number.
I just said, it's a big number.
It is. You're right.
All right, help me out. What can we do?
Okay, so if we're speaking specifically about evicting a tenant because they haven't paid rent, there is a new procedure that is required by the legislature, and it's called basically like the bridge law, and it bridges the gap between the eviction moratorium, which expired September, how many days are in September? 30th. And it bridges the gap between the eviction moratorium, which expired September 30th, and kind of the end of this emergency, whenever that may be. The law that deals specifically with evictions for non-payment of rent is only in effect until mid-2023. Sorry. And so basically what it requires is landlords must offer tenants the opportunity to engage in a reasonable repayment program. And the legislature has defined reasonable as no more than 1/3 of your monthly rent added to rent as it comes up in the future. So just for like easy numbers, if you're paying $1,200 a month in rent, one, I want to know where you live because that's really affordable rent. But if your rent's only $1,200 a month, the landlord cannot add more than $400 to your rent, because that's 1/3 of $1,200.
You mean today? Like they could say tomorrow, next month, I'm gonna add $400 to your rent.
You have to give 30 days notice.
Okay.
So you have to offer the repayment program. The tenant has 14 days to decide if he or she wants to even participate in it. If they do, you can't say, like, you couldn't contact a tenant on September 30th and say, starting October 1st, if you want to participate in this repayment program, your rent's going to be raised by 1/3. You have to give them 14 days to consider it and then 30 days notice before it's implemented.
So if somebody hasn't paid rent in a year, so let's say, to make the math easy in my head, $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 they owe. The landlord can say, you can pay me 1/3 of $1,000 in this example on top of your rent up to repay the $12,000 that you owe me in back rent.
Yes.
And if they give them that 30 days notice or 14 days notice, no, give them 30 days notice and then they have 14 days to respond.
They have 14 days to respond, and that the actual offer, say we were going to offer it to someone October 1st, in theory, you could add it to the rent on November 1st, because that gives them not only 14 days to respond, but 30 days notice that the rent increase is coming.
And so I guess there's like a crossroads there, right? At that point, the tenant's going to say, okay. Or the tenant's going to say, dude, I can barely afford, I haven't worked in 6 months.
Right.
I'm a server. My restaurant's closed. Whatever the story is, right? Because there's a lot of hardship out there. So, or they could say, like I said earlier about the Ferrari, they could say, hey, well, I had to buy that new Ferrari to be closer to my family. And so therefore I can't afford both payments. So sorry, I can't pay that extra third.
Yeah.
What do I do now? What happens then?
So, you also have to offer them the opportunity or tell them about this program called the Eviction Resolution Program. It's basically mediation. And the idea of this mediation program is that it will help landlords and tenants come to an agreement, either to reduce the rent or create a repayment program or whatever. The idea is that landlords and tenants come together kind of collaboratively to solve this problem of unpaid rent. Now, if the tenant says, sorry, I'm not paying, because they very well can, I'm not paying, I'm not participating in this repayment program, I don't care about the mediation, then at that point, the landlord can start an eviction process for non-payment of rent. That's kind of the easiest thing, right? Like, maybe landlords want tenants to not participate in this program because then you can just get them out. If they participate, you have to obviously give them the opportunity to engage in this repayment program. Then, say they 6 months make their repayment program rent payments on time. If at that point they default, then the landlord can say, okay, well, we agreed to this repayment program. You didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Now I'm going to file for eviction. But if the landlord ever wants to get the money back, like an enforceable judgment against the tenant, they have to walk down this path. They have to offer the repayment plan. They have to tell the tenant about the eviction resolution program. They can't just say, forget it, I don't care, I'm just going to, find some other reason to evict them and then go after the money. The law will not allow that right now.
Yeah, just so people are tuning in and hearing you talk, you're an attorney in Florida. You're going to be an attorney in Washington very soon. You're transitioning with Jeffers, Danielson, Sonn, and Aylward. And if you want more information, you can call them, right?
Yes.
So their number is 509-662-3685. I just wanted to make sure we said that because it sounds confusing.
It is confusing.
You know, and I can only imagine, and I've been in real estate a couple days, you know, like 3 decades.
Yeah.
And it's confusing. So I can only imagine what it's like. Wait a minute, dude. I have to do what?
Right.
And that's the craziness, right? Because not only, depending on your perspective, right? And at the end of the day, the Me, Myself, and I program is usually alive and well in people, and they can feel the pain. That, like an investor that was nice and let people hang out and not pay rent, say, I'm okay with that now, but at some point I got to pay the piper, as they say. And now those people are saying no. And now you're telling me as an investor, I have to call a lawyer. I got to go find some paperwork. I got to do this. If I do this wrong, I do that wrong. You know, as we come to the end of the second segment, one of the things I want to get into is that you said something in our meetings before today that was interesting to me, and that is you cannot contract your rights away.
Right.
And because, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a creative thinker, and I'm like, well, why don't we just do this deal? And then you sign here, and then I'll sign there, and then onward and upward we go. And you're like, no, Russ. No, Russ. That's why you're a realtor, not an attorney. All right, so we come right back. We're going to talk more about the eviction process, your rights and responsibilities as landlords. I appreciate Starleigh and EC's hanging out with me today, and we'll be right back with Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and Friends.
Keller Williams.